Hi folks, welcome back to my studio. This is Mr. Claggett, and we are going to continue the chess pieces for a bit, and we've got a few things to talk about to get set up for the end of the year. So it's good to have you back. This strange format of a camera, I wish I could see your smiling faces out there in the studio, but here we are again. We need to talk about the permanence of the clay and what you might want to do with it. The three options of clay that were suggested for you included, first off, the either salt dough or the cornstarch with glue recipe. Those two in particular, they can just dry out, and once they're dry, they gain a little bit of strength. It's still fragile. You have to treat them carefully, but they are dry and they are saved. I've got a beautiful, my wife has a beautiful nativity set from a family member that made a nativity set out of the salt dough recipe. And I think she's had it since she was a little girl. It's like 2 or 3 generations worth. It's beautiful, and it does last if you're careful with it. The salt dough or the cornstarch and glue recipe, you can paint those. Now, not watercolor, because you don't want to have a whole bunch of water soak into it, but it can be acrylic painted or spray painted. That's pretty quick and those things dry pretty fast. So that would be okay if that interests you. Okay, salt dough, cornstarch recipe. The second choice, which you had in front of you, was doing some sort of an oil-based clay. Sculpey was one of them, or basic modeling clay. All sorts of varieties with that. Sculpey is probably the most well-known. That oil-based clay, it can be baked in your oven, and it has kind of a strange smell when you bake it, and it has a certain temperature and a certain time for what you're making, but it can be done. Excuse me. And you should consult whatever directions it has for you on the packaging. I think some of those things are rather particular. Make sure that your parents are cool with you guys sticking it in the oven, because, like I said, it is a strange smell. It's not harmful by any means, but it's like, where's this coming from? It's very strange, and it's the oil that's burning out, and when that stuff is out of the clay, then your pieces will be far more permanent once you get to that stage. So look that up. Also, a lot of directions online for how to mess with that. Third choice. Oh boy. Third choice was a normal type of clay. We have stoneware in the studio, so if you got some of your own, or if you picked up stuff before we left, I would be happy to fire your pieces in the kiln once we all get back to school as soon as humanly possible. I think we're all kind of banking on August, that there will be some sense of measures where we can return to school, and I think every one of us is like realizing how important the school and social situation is. Now, I'm off on a tangent. If you used if you use the normal clay and you want to have it fired, I'm happy to do that whether you're taking a class or not for next semester. Just stop on by and we'll make sure it gets done. Okay,